Hi everybody, this is Joanna. This is the YouTube channel where we shake it up and we bring some lights. See my crown, see my crown of light. Woo! Shaking it up. Woo! Holy creators, the mother, the father, the sacred son, sacred daughter. And that's us. We're shaking it up. We're bringing some high vibrations today, where we've called in all the angels and all of the Christ collective and all of the beings of light that I've asked to amplify my light and love. And you see, it gets bigger. See, it's bigger. See, I call it in, and here it comes. It's coming. See, that's my crown. Whoa, 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 whoa. Too funny. What a beautiful day. Oh my gosh, you see, the heavens are with us. The heavens are with us. The heavens are with us. Let's get our healing on. Let's get our groove on. Let's get the light code on. Today we're going to be talking about the blessing and the miracle that is forgiveness. It's a big one. Forgiveness is huge, right? And if we all stop and think about what forgiveness feels like, what it means, and how we experience it in our everyday lives, it's unique and different to everyone, but it really is a vibration of purity within the heart that we must feel for and practice. You know, forgiveness is a practiced vibration because it's not something that we've held as part of our collective experience, right? Because we've been held in such conditions. And that's what the mothers and the sisters, thank you to the holy creators that are with us. And we're going to do some sounds, we're going to do some singing, and we're going to do some activations. So today is a singing activation, short ascension topic plus activation. And through sacred sound. Oh my gosh, I'm so on fire today. Because they were showing me that, because I was asking them, I said, where, will I know how forgiveness truly feels? Because in my heart, I've felt the vibration of my purity with Source, my purity with the essence of who I am as light. And I can feel that, I can feel for that. And in the saying and the living of forgiveness, what I've done throughout my life is I've forgiven it, and I've just known myself to be the expression of light. See, it's getting brighter and bigger and more shiny. But what's happened and what's occurred because of this 51-year process for me, saying the forgiveness, but part of my life's lesson is to allow myself the comprehension and the experience of expressing myself fully through all of the emotions, not just wanting to make peace and to be peace, and not allowing myself to actually feel and express those emotions that don't feel good, like anger and sadness and resentment. And so what, as a light worker, I've done is I've moved through the forgiveness process really quickly, or so I thought. And then when you get to a potential, breaking forward through who you are and the rebirth of who you are, all of those energies that were suppressed in the saying of the forgiveness, thinking you felt the forgiveness because you moved on to happier energy, because as a light worker, that's what you do. You just move on to happier energies. But what didn't occur was the expression of those energies that didn't feel good in all of those times that you had been hurt, in all of those occurrences and all those situations. And why sometimes it takes many, many years. Like they were telling me this morning, they were saying, don't think that allow yourself to let go of the idea that it happens overnight, because you've been feeling and working on these energies of forgiveness for so long. You are, because it's always a deeper and deeper level of forgiveness, because there were energies in there that were the deeper hurt of the depth of your heart. The bigger the heart that you are and that you have, we all have infinite access to heart, the source. As empaths and as crystals, and those that are widely awake and using their heart in all ways, not necessarily putting boundaries around their heart and their experience, and that's one of my lessons as well, is to really understand setting boundaries, really understanding how much to give and to whom, when to pull back and when to allow others their space to follow their path and seek their own light, and not having to fix it all and be responsible for doing that. And there's so many people that come with those experiences because that's just what we thought and we were taught in the dysfunction that we've grown up in. So now that we're hitting the age of awareness and the age of awakening, we're now understanding what is our own unique soul's path, what is accountability for soul growth, and how to really be a part of shaking it up and being a part of greater light. And that does absolutely mean that you have every potentiality to be fully sovereign within your light and own how you share it and how you move about with it, and be absolutely okay with saying no to experiences that will not return, and honor the light in measure, in equal measure. And that's what so many people will discover and sort out as they're moving through those experiences of various levels and various gradations of the release through ascension. Because it comes from our childhood, it comes from everything. Forgiveness stems, and we're not really taught how the process of forgiveness occurs. You know, the deep expression of what occurred in those moments. And if we do so, and every time that something occurs, and we actually suss it out through the emotions, through how one was felt and how one was treated, and that conversation of back and forth respect, then that doesn't have to be, you know, thank you, Spirit. It doesn't have to be a 2-year process of clearing those lifetime worth of, you know, forgivenesses you thought you forgave, but you forgave them. You let them move about their path without even acknowledging that they hurt you or harmed you, and they were going about their stuff. So you offered them the light of forgiveness, but you didn't clear through your own systems of what that harm and then what that pain really meant. And that's why the expression is so important, because that expression, that voice, that's why my voice is clearing, because that expression that didn't get talked about then, you know, that really harmed my heart, and it hurt my feelings when that lie occurred, you know, when you absolutely knew that that was not a truth, you know, when you involved me in that mistruth, you know, that harmed me, that hurt me, you know, and not expressing it just represses those feelings of you owning and honoring you and your heart. And then there's those other feelings that come into that process of forgiveness, because you end up holding on to regret and resentment for yourself, because you then start blaming and shaming yourself for allowing those experiences to occur over and over and over and over again. That's when you begin to pull back on your sense of self. Do you see what's happening here? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that amazing? Are you serious? So profound. Thank you, Source. Thank you, Source. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. So grateful. This is the Divine Feminine Sacred Script. Forgiveness. I told you it would get bigger. Getting bigger. Forgiveness is a process. You know, it's not about just saying for you know, when it's an experience between family members, when it's an experience between couples, when it's an experience of anything, to process forgiveness as a process. And then, you know, you're fully acknowledging, accepting, and allowing whatever that is experienced to be transmuted. To simply say forgiveness and not have it fully resolved will continue those repressed pains to be lived until it's fully processed, you know, to be fully acknowledged. Where did that pain and what occurred within the pain, and how did it happen, you know? And you don't have to necessarily relive the stories and the people within the stories, but when you're resolving something for yourself, because oftentimes others have left the picture, others have, you know, it's from childhood, or it's from a repressed memory, or it's from another lifetime. So you don't necessarily have to have the other people involved. But as you're going through your everyday minutia, if something occurs and you know that you've been hurt in some way, and it doesn't matter how we define it and carry it, you know, it could be, you know, hurt feelings, or, you know, you felt, you know, betrayed, or you felt, you know, your feet were stepped on, or whatever it might be, however we define it, because there's varying levels and layers to it. I mean, sometimes these pains go on for years and years, and they're never talked about because the emotional body and the mental body are so imbalanced and repressed, and because so many heart chakras are closed. But in the healing process, to open up your heart, you absolutely need to feel and process forgiveness through that love and compassion of acknowledging what's gone on and being accountable for your equal part in it, but also not to blame and shame yourself out of taking that level of accountability from those people that created it. Because there still needs to be that surrendering to spirit. There needs to be that accountability, and you just trust that spirit and creation will ensure that their karma and their soul's journey will take care of that, because it always does. It's a perfect system of unfolding. And everybody that's on Ascension absolutely knows that what you put out is what you get back. And it doesn't serve anybody to put anything back out that's other than forgiveness and love and compassion. You know. And we just talked about that in our Facebook, because it's been in the collective the last little while about spell work and things like that. And we've talked about the right use of will. And so if you're ever feel into anything that you're, like we said on our channel the other day, it doesn't matter what you're watching or what you're tapping into, just feel into the resonance of your heart, that Christic heart. Call in the Christ consciousness. How do I feel about this at the soul level, at the higher self level? I have some colleagues that work with spells, and their level of consciousness is very high in doing so. But I said in our Facebook post, because I had a couple of comments on that, and from other sources in the collective, and I'm not, there's no judgment, and I don't have any judgment on it in one way or the other. I was merely commenting on the reminder about free will and the understanding of how elegant our universe is. And this is where, when people are moving through their awakening and consciousness, there's sometimes the forgetfulness, because they're simply new at awakening, the understanding of energy, and that the right use of will is always the highest law and truth within our universe. It is free will, which means that to create the understanding of a spell being placed on someone, if you're wanting to put a spell on a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner or someone that you have in the future that you don't even know yet, whatever those energies are, you're placing energy upon someone, and it not being within their highest and their best, because it's not for any one of us to say what is the highest and the best, and to place any energy on anybody that would provoke or control an outcome in someone else's life. And that is stepping beyond the line of right use of will. So, and every master has to learn this, every healer has to learn this, because it's for us to simply be the conduit of source. The conduit of source. You see how beautiful, shiny this is. And as source does with us. Source offers the information and the guidance, but it's up to us to use our integrity on how we use and how we move through energy. And why always what you put out is what you get back. And so just keep in mind and bear in mind that every soul has a divine blueprint and a soul contract on what it's meant to experience, what it's meant to explore, and how it's meant to express itself with source as source. And oftentimes this goes right back into parents and guardianships and lovers and partnerships. We're learning how to release control and simply allow ourselves to be sovereign. And of course, there will always be the understanding of how we naturally care and guide our children, so that they're of age to make those beautiful decisions, and empowering them and inspiring them, and encouraging them to do so as early as possible, as we, watch over them and ensure they're safe and they're held in great kindness and care and nurturance. But there's always that experience where we must bear the balance, and this is where the Christ consciousness and our inner consciousness plays a huge part when we're moving into higher consciousness and energy work. Because as we open to 5D, we're opening all things that are energy. And our core vibration is how we co-create and how we manifest. But if we're placing intention and desires to force an outcome in any one way, then we're calling in those forces of energy to manipulate on someone else's behalf without their free will and involvement. And that's crossing a line. And so we just have to bear those things in mind. And of course, because we're all new at this, right? we cannot force an outcome in anything. As the creators have been talking and showing and offering this for many years now, as you enter into mastery, it's about just setting the vibration, moving forward in excitement, and know that if anything is meant to be, then it will be. If there is meant to be, in the twin flame and the soulmate community, all you have to do is send out that loving vibration of intention to be with the divine soulmate that is of a vibrational match. That's all you have to do. Send out those vibrations, not by having any one particular person in mind, not by having must come through, must have this, must. Just let it go. From the beauty of your heart, send out those vibrations of, oh, I can see us going for a walk together on the beach. I can see us holding hands. Set the loving vibration of what it is you want to experience. And then ask your teams and ask Source Creator. I'd love the angels to thread me with, because when you come with a soul blueprint, you come with a series of 5 to 10 people that are potentialities of your soulmates based on where you're at in your vibrational ascension plan. And as you move through your journey and as you move through your lessons, those souls are also moving through their plan and their lessons, because you're sewn together at a soul level. And you contract with one another. And as you go in sleep time and higher consciousness time, your souls and your higher selves are working together to move one another into place vibrationally, locationally, and all of the things that have to fit together for you to bump into one another on the street. Your teams and your spirit guides are all working with that. You don't have to set out spell work, and there is nothing wrong with spell work if it's done within the highest benevolence and honoring of free will. We cannot force an outcome. An Archangel Michael always, will offer, just merely pray in the highest and the best for the greatest resolve for all. For the greatest resolve for all of the higher selves and all of those souls will all be in coordination of working together in the highest vibration that is Source Creator. Because every soul that is involved in any one situation has their own unique experiences that they have to move through. And not any one person can deviate from playing God in it. And that's the big misconception, and why, again, it bears in mind that we remind, because we have to understand free will and the delicacy that it creates in your own karma, in your own ability to move as your free will essence of Source Creator. And why we really must, we've offered in all of our offerings, really truly understanding the conditions and the limitations that we've all been brought up in, and the subjugations we've all been brought up in, because it's all been about control. That's why we've been out of balance, right? We are in a free will universe. Our experience on this planet is understanding and honoring and respecting free will, so that we each live sovereignly, honoring one another's path without pulling on anything, without trying to make anything happen, manipulate and control and all of those things, which just ends up as karma for whoever is acting in those ways of lower vibrational wanting and needing and controlling. That those are those lessons they have to learn, right? And again, there's no right or wrong. There will be those experiences of equal measure, because it's a balancing universe. We cannot force any outcome. You can sit back and say, why is it that I need that outcome to occur? And then go within and seek within your own forgiveness of why you feel you need to force that outcome. Because you're afraid of change, because you're afraid of a loss in what you feel is a loss. Because remember, if anything is moving in a certain way that is wanting transition and to push it out and express and be more, it's doing so because you're ready for it and it's needed. Source knows, God knows, your teams know, soul knows, spirit knows. We don't at the ego level know. It's up to us to open as the unconditional open vessel and understand that it's a loving minutia of God. There will be positive and there will be neutral, and there will be energies that will allow us to challenge who we are. There is no real negative. It's just allowing us those experiences to say, okay, where did that come from? What place was I sitting in where that came from? How I'm open now, I'm receptive now, I'm aware now, I'm awake now. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to go? I just sit back and trust that Source has it. I just place out those loving vibrations. I will have a soulmate. I'm calling in my soul tribe. I don't know what they look like. I don't know who they are, but I know that this vibration I'm sending out, there's going to be people that want to match with me. There's going to be people that want to gather. There's going to be people that want to break it up and create greater light. And Source will bring it to you. You'll always have a meal. You'll always be taken care of. And again, that just allows us that opportunity to release control and just trust Source. You are in the hands of Spirit. You're always in the hands of Spirit. So trust it. And if something's not meant to work out, it's not meant to work out. The time is done. And that, thank you, Spirit. And the time is, they're saying, that's, yay, surprise. They always do that to me. That when I'm always on point and something really needs to be said, you'll see the little angels and the spirits flying around. We always have these experiences, especially, you know, people like me, where when I love and when I, you know, commit to something, I do it 100% so deeply. Every cell in my body is involved in something, you know, because I give my all to it. Everything matters to me. I care. And those come with really harsh lessons, you know, because oftentimes you're putting in far more of yourself than others do. And that was the soul, one of, you know, many soul lessons for me. My experience from zero to now is all been about not overgiving, you know, allowing it to be equal measure, and really pulling back on, you know, how much to give and to whom, you know. And there's that balance, you know, because I've said to my teams, well, am I not just supposed to be this, you know, unconditional vessel of living light? Well, yes, but you have not learned how to set boundaries because it wasn't learned from your childhood, because nobody that you knew were setting boundaries. It was dysfunctional. So set the boundaries. You can still be an unconditional vessel of love, but you can also choose to set boundaries and say, I've given enough. I've had enough of those lessons. I'm in a different space now, a different vibration, and I don't choose to engage in those games anymore. And you can say, no, you don't have to keep feeding into things that do not nourish you. You do not have to keep feeding into experiences that you've learned the lesson. Those that take too much and never give back, or those that take in a way that is less of your vibration in equal measure. So if you know that people are not being honest with you, not living with integrity with you, and yet you're living in full integrity for them, then that's where the imbalances occur. And that's when all of you is being taken. Your light's being taken, your integrity is being taken, your thoughtfulness is being taken, the care of who you are as a person is being taken, your sense of self is being taken. That's where you feel completely depleted. And more often than not, they don't know it until you say, whoa, no, put up the boundaries. You've taken enough, go sort it out. And that's the accountability that they must take. Well, I've been taking, maybe I shouldn't have lied. That's when the waking up happens, is when you say no and you set those boundaries. They have to go and sort that out with source, with their higher self. And that's needed. You know, just like us, we have to go through tough love. You know, this is the Spirit doesn't want it to be tough love school, you know, but this is the school, this is the planet in our galaxy where these experiences are so vibrationally rich. We learn everything here. You know, you can be a high vibrational light worker and just absolutely learn how and when to say no. How much is too much, you know, to people that are not blinking twice at you. There you have to gather and garner who you are, rebuild and rewrite and resolve who you are with source. This is who I am now. I am the Empress. I will be respected, and I will no longer give to situations that are lack of integrity, that are lack of equal measure, that are lack of sincerity and authenticity. And you can vibrationally feel that. And we all know, right? You all know those that are working with vibrations that are not of integrity, that are not fully truthful, that are not fully transparent. And there will be a point, you know, at you know, the mastery stage to, you know, ask clients to, you know, to really go within and seek their next level of mastery, you know. And also family members, you know, when you absolutely know your children absolutely know the answer, and they're just coming to you because it's easy and it's quick, you know. And how many of us have friends that are like that and family members that are like that, you know, or that borrow the money because it's just, you know, you always say yes. That continues to take from you in every way, multidimensionally. So this is where setting those boundaries is really, really key, because when you do fully awaken, you'll be able to sense and feel everything. And when you fully awaken, you will feel that quantum entanglement, and you'll want to pull back from those that are not working with integrity, because you're quantumly feeding that. And you'll absolutely know that absolutely that's not a vibration I want to continue with. That's not okay with me. And you're okay to say that. Be okay to say that. That quantum entanglement is very real. And that's why it's important that we begin talking about, what's the vibration I want of my home, of my space, of my body. And it begins within my body. I want it to be sacred. The blessings that I have for me are sacred. I love myself. I honor myself. I'm going to forgive myself when and wherever I can. I'm going to understand the process of forgiveness for me. I'm going to make sure that anytime anything comes up, I'm going to speak about it. I'm going to process how I feel about it, because I'm valued. And I want my body and myself, my feelings, my emotions, all that I am as a multidimensional being, I want it to be treated sacredly. And the only way to do that is to own and honor and be accountable for my sacredness, to really fully understand forgiveness. I forgive myself fully, and I'm going to process this emotion. It wasn't okay that I got treated like that. And it wasn't okay that I let it slip by again and again and again and again and again. I love myself more than to do that anymore. And for some of us, it's the school of hard knocks, but that's okay. It's okay, because you do. Anything that you move through that is a challenge, you have that equal light that's on the other side of that. Remember the Vesica Pisces. You are the Vesica Pisces, and you get to choose. I choose to release these energies now. I choose to release these cycles. I choose to release these behaviors. I choose to do a full account. I choose to do a full reflection on where my life is right now. These are the things that aren't working, and these are the things that I'm letting go of. It's not working for me vibrationally. It's not a vibrational match. And I'm going to be really selective about those energies that I'm entangling with, because it matters to me. It really, really matters to me. It matters. And I can feel it, and I'm no longer going to be okay with it. That's putting up those boundaries. No, absolutely no. And there will be those that were, when you're shifting in and out of those circles, there will be those that will be okay with it and those that won't be. And that's up to them to sort out, because they have to look at how those have been occurring. They have to at some point look at those and then find new vibrations to match with that, or level up, right? It's always about ascension. And there's always going to be those moments and those choices where we're all forgiving and we're being compassionate. Being compassionate means that you don't give to everybody all the time unconditionally. No, it means you can send light from afar. You can still love them unconditionally from afar, but you're not going to compromise you and your light and your sense of self to placate into games that are no longer of your vibrational integrity. And that's when you're standing in your sense of self. That takes a mastery. That's the Lord Michael vibration and, Jesus mastery. Like he said, you came to eat because you were fed and you were filled. So when are you going to go in and fill it for yourself? That was the meaning of that statement where he had, with the young man that came running up to him as he finished a sermon one day, and not a sermon, but one of his vibrational offerings. And the young man said, "Where do you come from, and how do I fill up on what you fill up on?" And he said, "You came to me because you came to me for the reaching of the light that I'm showing you is within. I'm not the bearer of your groceries. You are. So fill yourself." That's what a master does. A master creates masters out of showing other masters. Okay, I've shown you, I've told you, I've helped you. Now you do it. Now that's what we're all doing. We're allowing all others to see that they are the masters of themselves, and they don't have to play those games. But that's everybody's lesson. Everybody's learning it on all ends. That's how we allow each other to be our best teachers and our best students. We'll always allow each other to be pulled up, pulled up, pulled up. And oftentimes it means, closing out those stories that just don't work vibrationally within who you are now as your new integrity. This is my new strength now. It's my new integrity. Like I tell my kids, I said, I'm going through a really big ascension right now, and you're going to see mommy change, which means that some of the things that used to be okay are not okay anymore. They're not okay. How we talk to one another, how we disregard, certain things. No, we're going to sort it out. This is mommy's new vibration now. This is mommy's new experience now. We can't talk and walk all over people, because it matters to me how we treat one another, and doing it sacredly. And what's everyone's input? How can we sort this out? Because this is my new me now. And that's your sense of self, standing strong within your sense of self so that you glow. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to create. I'm going to shake up the energy, and my voice does matter. How I am being treated matters. And they know there's no lying, there's no lying. No lying. It's transparent, right? And that's where you start feeding and calling in other relationships and other tribes that are transparent, because you're owning it, you're honoring it, you're forgiving it and being compassionate from what has occurred. You get to choose now, what's my new sense of self? Because I want to call in a partner that absolutely understands that, every thread. Every thread. And you can call those in so that you're constantly stretching and pressing out as the sacred being that you choose to be. But forgiveness is a process, it's about the acknowledgement, the acceptance of it, and then the processing of the emotions, the processing of what's going on underneath all that stuff, and calling it to the forward and saying, this is where it sits right now. How can I process this experience so that I'm not going to carry it around anymore? And that can be an infinite number of ways of creative expression, through journaling, singing, dancing, and just dancing it out and singing it out, going for that power walk, doing your affirmations and just letting it out, because you're choosing that new sense of self vibration that you want to shift into. So the release and the forgiveness comes through that acknowledgement and the acceptance of what was, accepting what it was. And oftentimes we get stuck in that cycle, why, which just keeps us in that why. It's okay to ask why a couple of times, but don't get stuck in that why. Well, why did it happen? Why did they have to do that? It just keeps you going around in that cycle of vibration. Let go of the why. Give yourself a few minutes to process that why. Okay, that was just something they had to experience. And you were the one that contracted with them to be the other side of that. We're all helping each other be students and teachers every moment. And those that teach us the hardest lessons are the ones that allow us to take that greatest leap into light. It's hard to see when you're wallowing on the floor and you're just like, what the crap? But it is, you wake up and you think, wow, I learned so much. Oh my gosh, I'm going to write a book. And you get to be that light. You get to be the integrity of that lesson. You get to be the forgiveness of it, because you've let that go. You're not carrying that weight, that vibrational weight of the pain anymore, or the punishment or the resentment or whatever it is that's weighing you down in sadness and depression. Let it go. And it can be with anything, a childhood experience, a suppressed energy, suppressed emotion. You can ask your teams to place whatever it is you want to release, to forgive, and place it on the table vibrationally and say, I'm going to call up a portion of this vibration, especially if it's something that you're steeped in, like victimhood or betrayal or rejection, any of those energies that are threaded within more than one or two experiences. They're usually threaded within a deep childhood wound that goes back to other timelines and lineage, and competition and control and all of those types of energies. And just place it on the table. And I want to see the divine relationship in this. And then just place it there, and then just hold yourself in an open, calling forward, cleansing space. I'm calling forward the energy of betrayal. Just call that betrayal forward. Release the stories, release the people, and breathe into it. Just call forward betrayal. I'm calling forward betrayal. And within 5 or 6 breaths, I feel in my field, I feel these pings, and it will be connected to a childhood where your parents said they would do something and they didn't. And it really meant a lot to you because you had your friends over for the weekend. All of these things will start coming up. And then for that few minutes, just feel into that betrayal as you're breathing through it. And as you're exhaling, releasing the betrayal, releasing the betrayal. I breathe in light. I'm owning myself to self-heal, to self-soothe. Release the betrayal, release the betrayal, release the betrayal. And just hold the intention at your heart and in your I am presence. I'm releasing the betrayal. And you can feel your heart chakra start to open. And within a couple of minutes, because you can only hold, and you probably start crying, right? If you haven't done regular clearing work, you will start crying. And that's why I say work on 1 or 2 chakras for 3 or 4 days at a time when you're in a release period of your ascension cycle, so that you're not overwhelming yourself. you will feel that vibration come forward, and it will only last for a couple of minutes. You can only really hold that vibrational density for a couple of minutes. That's it. But because we're not used to doing these clearing experiences, sometimes they're with us, in your days in depression. It doesn't have to be. And just, if you know that it's a deep wound of betrayal, because everybody has varying levels of their experience, just hold it, and work on it for a week. This, my soul's, and I've got a beautiful illustration coming up for the weekly soul's growth, kind of journal sheet illustration. So we're going to have that come out soon, and we'll put it on our Facebook. So anything that we talk about as an illustration, we have posted on our Facebook. And then when our website gets up and ready, we'll have all of the illustrations there. And then so at a week at a time, use that soul growth journal as a guiding template. It's the soul growth template under the Kwan Ya. The Kwan Ya is our new website, and we're so excited about it. And I'll tell you the story about it later when we do our intro. And so that template allows you to say, this is me as a template for my soul growth this week. And it's like a beautiful sheet of Christic energy that template stands for and resonates at. And that soul growth, it says, this week, these are the things that I'm devoting to myself, that I'm going to explore and express and experience as who I am. And then take 1 or 2 chakras a week and really study you, explore you, experience you in new ways. And devote yourself to it, commit yourself to it. And that's when you really start feeling the enrichment and the rich embodiment of who you are. And it will become, a way for you to really release and be a master of everything that you're moving through. And you're going to move through those really deep experiences much more readily and with great mastery, because you understand the higher perspective and the higher story to it all. And you don't get stuck in the vibrations of resentment and sadness and disappointment. They actually leave you quite quickly. And when you're devoting yourself to truly saying, this is my intention, this week I will release these energies and these densities within my multidimensional bodies and systems. And then you open up to those higher codes, you open up to higher water rich food, you open up to that greater vibration that fills that vibrational space, if you will, because you release the vibrational weight of the sadness and whatever it is that you feel you're packing. If you're not walking in your joyhood, in your bliss, then you understand there's something in there that needs to be cleared. And so just choose, through your soul growth template, what can I work on this week for my soul's growth? Because I know it's going to honor me in every way, multidimensionally. And so forgiveness is an absolute, it goes hand in hand with self-love. And we can't express ourselves and experience ourselves and explore ourselves as self-love if we're not fully going through the process of forgiveness. Because you have to honor yourself to go through the process. I honor and I love myself. I love me more. And I really want this behavior to start changing, because it's not working for me anymore. It doesn't feel good. Nothing good comes about of it. And I absolutely deserve to have that respect in return. I've given it out. What about me now? And that is that self-love. Yeah, I got to love myself, and I got to forgive myself where I let it happen over and over and over again for years. And it stops. You can choose when it stops. Everybody has a different temperament and a different soul's journey. And your guides are always guiding you. Your guides are always saying, it's time for you to step into your power. Claim your light, claim your power. And every time that we're allowing those situations to occur, they become those ways that we just keep giving away power because you're just so exhausted, and that's just a never ending cycle of exhaustion. There's only so much light you've got, right? And everybody just sucks it. And no, it's time for you to get your own light now, and know that you can do it, as every master came to teach us. I can show you how to fish. So now you fish, and honor me in my fishing, as I honor you. And so just know that it's a process, and it's okay. It's okay for you to claim your light and own it in a very loving and compassionate and honoring way, and be lighthearted about it. Just say, this has been going on for years. It's getting really tiring. I've had enough, and it stops today. Be lighthearted. Be be as light as you can about it. That way it eases change for those that know that it's been imbalanced, and those that really don't understand energy and are awakening in them themselves to find out what's going on. And for, of course, the children to get used to working within their light and knowing what that is all about. We don't know unless we start, behaving in different ways and honoring ourselves in different ways. And that comes through the full process of forgiveness. To say sorry is only one part of it. It's a process. Is there full understanding of what occurred? And that's where the teams were telling me this morning, is that you all live with such conditions that when you say sorry and you're going through what you feel is forgiveness, it's not really, it's conditional, because it's not been fully processed. It's been like, saying I love you. Saying I love you is beautiful. But when you're fully being with intention and sacredness of I love you, it's different than just say, oh, I love you. So that's where we're getting into that sacredness, behaving and being present, the beingness, the mindfulness, the presentness of who we are and how we live. Can we really be, not that you have to walk around and be fully Om all day with your love yous, but I'm just giving that as an example, because so many of us have lived in, 3D, repertoire of, routines where everything becomes less. You do more, but you have less as far as the richness of loving vibration, the less of intimacy because everybody's so busy doing, the less of creative expression because everybody's so busy in routine that everybody's just working like mechanical robots doing the same thing day in and day out, and nobody's expressing themselves as spirit or being with spirit. And so there's always those minutiae that we're leaving and stepping away from. And forgiveness is a huge part of it. You can't move through the ascension process without it, because it's also you forgiving you for being so hard on yourself that you had to keep, the cycles of self-blame and self, deprecation for not fixing it for everybody. It was never your job to. You were never meant to be the only one coming here and healing the world. People in your circle have to move through their experiences. You were placed there to be a light, to show others, to learn your boundaries, to expand in who you are, to own your truth, to own your voice, and move about in a beautiful and confident way in doing so. And those were just my soul lessons. And when we get into behavioral patterns of being it for everybody and doing it for everybody, those are the hardest ones to step out of, because it's steeped with those obligations and those roles and those patterns and those definitions of conditioning and traditions and all of those things we've talked about. But that is absolutely what has to occur for those of us that are really making a poignant new beginning and pressing out new. I just see sources coming in as I'm saying that. It's those of us that carry those roles very deeply within our souls. It doesn't work anymore. And I have that full birthright and that sovereign birthright to claim it on and walk as myself. And forgiveness is a huge one. I don't have to carry any guilt anymore. I forgive myself fully for it. I don't have to carry anything that is not mine. I don't have to carry it. It's not mine to fix. It's not my circus. I can live fully in my integrity. I can detach from what I know is not of integrity. I can detach from those experiences that allow me to be the giver and not ever being received. I can detach from that now. I'm awake, I'm aware, I own it, I claim it, and now I'm going to allow something new to occur. And Source will bring it in. Just like we talked about understanding the right use of will. When we're overgiving and we're doing too much, we're taking part of their free will to learn their highest sovereign lesson. They can't become masters. They can't understand who they are as masters, as their own masteryship, if we're doing a lot of the work and taking everything on for everybody and letting everything fall under the carpet, because nobody wants the accountability. And it's just better if you fix it, right? Well, how is that serving me? It's serving all you guys. Well, what about me? How am I being served? That's where we're saying forgiveness. They also said to me earlier, when and how much to give. And that's a big one for light workers, and that's a big one for masters, and that's a big one for the detachment lesson. Everybody has to learn detachment and mastery. And that is the Master Jesus was showing me of, you're a guide to assist others in fishing and being that unconditional experience of love. And you can do so as being loving and strong and compassionate, You know, how much to give when, because there's lessons within it all. There's blessings within those lessons because it teaches everybody to be the master. There is no judgment on anything. There's no condemnation. Those are the experiences we have to teach and learn for one another. Remember, it's the teaching and the learning. We are all students, we're all masters. And each and every one of us come with our own unique soul's plan. It's not for any one person to say, I'm going to take that lesson away from you and I'm going to, you know, do it my way. I'm going to control the outcome and put a spell on. Those are things that must be learned. You can't learn it otherwise. Because you know within you, when that line is crossed, you can feel vibrationally. And those that are going into big collectives of people will have many, 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 many lessons where you're learning the subtleties of vibration so that you're absolutely honoring free will, not projecting and forcing outcomes, especially if you're in leadership, It's you know, it's the number one universal law. To be a great leader is to allow all others to be their highest leader of sovereignty. To truly understand what does sovereignty mean? What does it mean and feel like? What does it look like? You know? And that's what builds that self-empowerment. My oneness with source. Not ego. My oneness with source is sovereignty. Because I'm led by source. That is my highest authority. That is my leader. That is my compass. Not ego. Because ego will perpetuate those cycles of a win-lose, in which all that we've all seen is how our politicians, you know, when there's new, you know, electives, the first thing they do is start slamming one another, and it becomes a win-lose. That's how you know the level of spirituality, the win-win. Where is that coming in? You know? And that's changing. It will. The politicians will come forward in years to come as a win-win. How can we all win? How can we work together? You've got some great attributes. I really liked what you did. You know, if you heard a politician saying something positive instead of slamming their opponents, because that's what we've always been used to. It's been egocentric, absolutely egocentric. You know, and coming in and say, well, how can we all work together? You know, and why does it have to be a win-lose? Those systems are changing. We are infusing light to create something new because it doesn't have to always be what it was. It can't be. Because the all are the all. We are all affecting the all. We're one. And free will is so important. And sovereignty is that higher compass. This is my soul's path and I have the right to it. And to live it in all ways because I know I'm guided by higher counsel. It's right for me, right? And so it's always just to maintain and find your own sense of balance and equilibrium. And that's the minutia that everybody's working through because we're carrying so much of the Akashic lineage. So that's why be lighthearted and be compassionate. Everybody's carrying so much. We're all clearing hundreds of years worth of density and darkness. So these things are going to happen. It's just easier to move through the process of forgiveness if we're not forgiving, 50 years worth of things that we haven't talked about and processed. And it's the process of forgiveness is always, again, self-love and your sacredness. So when you choose to incorporate, I want to feel sacred. I want to know what that vibration feels like. I want to walk in my sacredness. I want to know what that experience is like with Source. You absolutely know that you are the divine essence of who you are. What is under my free will today? How can I explore my highest soul growth today? And how can I feel sacred in doing so? And that's held within your presence with Source. I'm present with you, Source. How shall I move? And you'll always be guided. You'll always be gifted. You'll always be taken care of. You'll always be blessed. And all of that other stuff will be sorted out through the divine law of the Creator. Because every soul has a different karmic package. Every soul has a different soul lesson. It's not for us to play, mediator on who gets what karma and who can control what karma. That's not for anybody to play, and you'll get yourself into a whole other ball of wax trying to get into those energies. Stay, you don't want to go there. It's not for anybody to, why would you? Why would you? Again, because energy is very real. How do you want to play with it? That's where your mindfulness comes from. Be mindful. Be mindful of what you put out. It has consequences. It has effect. It has effect. You know, everybody's learning it. Everybody's learning it. You know, and that's why some people will just choose to walk away, because those are the consequences. You know, you play with lack of integrity, there's going to be some walking away. You know, and you can always, again, it's always that minutia of oneness. There's still oneness there. There's still the caring and the compassion, but you're devoting to yourself at a level of sacredness, and that sacredness is not lack of integrity. There's a difference in vibration, and you can feel it. You can feel it in the house when something's not of integrity in the house. Right? Right? So let's shake it up. Let's bring in some light. Let's create with the heavens. And there, again, there's no judgment on any of it, because we have to go through it to be the masters. Again, we're always students, we're always masters. And this is where humility comes in. When you live from this pure space of humility, you absolutely know and understand, you know, this has been a 15-year process for me. And this 15-year process has been, you know, because of the lifetimes that I've come from, the Essene background, all of these higher vibrational experiences that I've been coming from and threaded from. One thing that was always very threading for me was the sacredness and the humility from my heart. You know, thank goodness. Because as open and as sensory perceptive as I am with energy and the quantum entanglement factor, one has to truly stand within one boundary so that you're not threading into those lack of integrity experiences that really don't feel good at all. And they allow you the discernment of energy threads and how quantum entanglement works and how it affects your multidimensional allness in your reality. There's no judgment wrong or way. We're expressing and exploring and being discerning of subtle energies, because that's how you create your reality and truly feeling, how do I feel? Am I processing what needs to be felt? And let's sort it out so that we're bringing everyone up to this beautiful vibration of oneness and co-creation, you know, and work it out. That's how allowing everybody to be there, to be the fisherman, catch their own fish, right? And again, you're allowing that opportunity for everyone to participate in equal measure. And this is what we're doing as a collective. Let's break out some light. Let's get in there and let's bring everyone up to equal measure. Why is there such vast differences in our society? I mean, vast, not just little. I mean, we all know this. Just look up, you know, domestic income, you know, stats for anyone, you know, province or territory or state. Just look it up. That's okay. Where's the resolve? Let's resolve. Let's throw some light in there. Let's be the light. Let's shed some light on this. Let's sort it all up, bring up all the dust. Let's suss it out. You know, so that everyone's held at high measure. Everyone is held within the highest light. Everyone is given that equal opportunity to have their free will honored and respected and valued. There's no more lack of integrity in any way, in any system. Doesn't matter whether it's doctrine, you know, government, political, banking, you know, these are things we're sussing out. It starts with us. We step forward and say, okay, I want to feel my integrity. I want to be the one that says, this is my new vibration now. You know, and I'm going to come forward and I'm going to speak my truth a little bit more, and I'm going to honor you, and I'm going to have this beautiful experience with you back and forth. But it might mean that I'm going to say no a little bit more because I feel I'm being taken from, you know. And yeah, it might sound a bit weird, but you'll get used to it. You'll figure it out. You'll find your way, and I'm always here for you to, you know, if you need guidance, you know, and just set those boundaries in loving and, you know, co-creative, expressive ways. So they also learn too. Well, that means that I can also tell that to my friend who's been taking advantage of me. They get to see us stand in our power so that we set the example. You know, that lying is not okay. Not truthfulness is not okay. We all have to experience it because that's how we know what our comfort level is, who we are as a sense of people. You're discovering your sense of self at every new phase of awakening. That's how you walk that very sacred line. And it's always pure, and at your heart you feel what is truthful and what is good and what is sacred for you. But it takes us going within and restructuring our sense of self every new phase of awakening, pressing out, and it becomes ever more pure. And that's what the Holy Christ meant as. It's an ever, narrow path, and it becomes ever more devoted in pure love and pure sacredness. And that means that there will be those ever threading of experiences that will be ever more pure with, these are my new standards now, And it's okay if you're not okay with it. It's okay if you are okay with it. There's always those in-betweens, right? That's how we create the minutia and the diversity of source. And that's how we also discover our ever widening of who we are as a sense of self. And we must go through that process of forgiveness. What part of it was not okay? What part of it really hurt me? What part of it was I not allowing myself to express? What part of it affected other people? What part of it did I play? What part of it am I going to forgive myself for? What part of it can I heal and make right? That's the processing of forgiveness, and saying sorry just sometimes is okay, but you'll have that level of feeling into, because your level of sacredness is going to be different every time you move through the process of forgiveness. You might want to call your partner back and say, you know what, I know I said that I forgave you, but these are things that are coming up, so this means that it's not resolved yet, because I'm expanding in my sacredness. And that means that there was things within me that I didn't know at the time that are now coming up to say, you're more sacred. Hold yourself high. Hold your vibration in higher account. Hold yourself in higher account, because if you don't, nobody else is. You got to be the first one to hold yourself high. You got to be the first one to devote yourself to sacredness, so that others around you can say, wow, okay, that's different. Mom wants us to say please and thank you. Okay, Mom wants us to clean up after ourselves. Mom wants us to do a couple of chores a day. Those are equal measure. Equal measure. It shouldn't be just one person's role. And again, those come from traditions. Who set this tradition? It's so not fair. I don't have to take this on. It's not my tradition. Who cares if it was, 100 lineages before me? No, it stops today. Today, this is the new rules. Let's talk about it. How do you feel about it? Now we can move on. But I mean, we all go through it at various levels and stages. So just be okay. Be okay saying, I'm setting my new standard, my soul growth template for me. I'm going to create greater sacredness this week, and I'm going to feel into it in the infinite number of ways that source brings it to me. Again, you just set the intention, open up and allow, and source will bring you whatever you need to that is directly in pure alignment of what you have to learn, what you're moving through as far as self-love and forgiveness. And it will always be threaded with those. Always, 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 always. If you have something that is released through your morning clearing, you'll have a memory or repressed experience. You'll have something that will come through and be released that will be directly related to what you're working on, because that's just spirit. But again, you get to be the commandment of your growth, your soul's growth with spirit, and set those weekly experiences that you can look back on and make notes on through your week, how that soul growth is affecting you. And you get to say, wow, I actually, from day 1 to day 7, I saw myself grow as a soul consciousness. I'm with my soul. My soul is with me. My soul is feeding me that renewed light. My soul is feeding me those experiences of synchronicity that I see coming here, here, and here. My soul is feeding me those tips on what to say and how to say it with the angels, so that I'm being within my integrity. I'm setting my standards, and I'm also being loving and forgiving. And I'm also being that guidance for others so that they can step into their role as a leader. That's what all great leaders and masters do. They offer the highest vibration of experience and emulation and illumination, and be the vibration of it. And then they allow others to step into their mastery. Oftentimes others don't even know they're a master until they go through those experiences of behaving in certain ways, until someone steps away and says, wow, I've actually got to do this for myself. And within a couple of months or a year, they say, wow, I am a master. Look at me. I'm so glad that they did that, because now look at me. We're all brought up to equal measure. We're all masters. And sometimes those lessons aren't easy, and sometimes most are not comfortable with it. But you don't become a master by just flipping the page and saying, okay, I'm a master. Yes, you are, but you still have to go through the practical application of it. You have to practice it. That's what my teams told me this morning. I said, well, why am I still working on this one energy through forgiveness. And they said, because you have to practice it. And because I was, I was talking to, my teens and Buddha, and Buddha was saying, the other day that you were saying, Joanna, you're a master. You're equal with me. And I said, no, but Lord Master. And he said, no, you're equal with me. And I said, well, what do you mean? But you're a master. And I'm trying to figure out compassion and forgiveness. Please show me. It's just like such disarray. And they're like, because you have to practice it. It when you're on the veil, when you're on the other side of the veil and you're peeking through right now, you're practicing it. But you've come from your clearing, this lifetime in particular, we're clearing 3 to 5D. So don't expect you're going to be a master of compassion, within 50 years. Some people already have that inherently in their code, but it's because they're working through, that's one of their soul blueprints. But my lifetime is to practice the mastery of forgiveness and compassion through all of these lifetimes that I'm clearing and I'm healing. Forgiveness and compassion are key for me. I've always had compassion. Always. That's why there's been so many, overgiving, because I've been so compassionate. Over here, I'm so compassionate. But the forgiveness and the compassion go hand in hand when you know when and how to say stop. And, so that's the part of compassion I'm learning. There's always that flip side of compassion, right? You can be compassionate, but knowing when and when to stop. Because you are an overgiver. You naturally have that innate. You're a light worker. You're a star seed. All you want to do is give. But that other side of compassion is to say, okay, I can still be compassionate. I have compassion for what you're moving through, but it's up to you to learn that now, because now I'm stepping into a mastery role. So as a master, I have to absolutely understand detachment. I have to absolutely understand, absolutely setting those boundaries as a master to allow others to step into their mastery. And so that's been uncomfortable, especially when we're clearing all of the deep densities that the divine feminine have been coming from, because it's always that minutia of, okay, well, I'm clearing this pattern, but now it's attached with all this guilt and shame. And am I being not a good mother? Am I being this? Am I being that? Well, no, those were just who set the pattern and the illusion and the standard of what a good mother is. Who wrote that? Whose illusion is this? That you have to cook 3 meals a day and do all the chores and do all the laundry, make sure the floors are clean. Is that what predicts a good mother? Who's setting all these standards? This is where we get to suss it out with Source. As long as you're living from your pure heart and being the loving and intimate being that you are being and living in your highest compassion, you know who you are with Source. And you're allowing all others to be that for themselves, so that they stand up and say, okay, I was able to do that, Mom, because you did this with us this week. I felt great. I felt like, wow, I stood in my power and I said exactly what I needed to say. And I did that presentation and I didn't cry. Well, there you go. You see, for me, that's the best. That's me being a great mom. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be the best example of illumination that I absolutely can be. I will speak my truth. I will live my truth, and I will honor my truth, and I will be devoted to love. That is a good mom. I get to define that. We each get to define our sovereignty with Source. Our sovereignty from here. Pure, intentional love of who we are as Source. Love. And it's pure. It's pure. When your kids walk in the door and you're just, it's pure. Your heart just, they feel it. They know it. Until it's like, Mom, enough love already. Gosh, enough hugging. Come here, Mama. You don't have to be you unapologetically. Set your own standards, set your own devotion to you, set your own devotion for who you are as a blessed being of light. You are magnificent. You are a gift. And it's okay that you're going through the minutia of understanding what forgiveness means to you and how to process it for you. There's going to be moments where that a quick, I'm sorry, I forgive you is going to be okay. And then there's going to be those things where you have to come back to the table. Okay, let's sort it out because that sorry was not okay. I'm sorry. That sorry didn't count. We got to go a little deeper here. And that is that becoming sacred. You can't become sacred if it's constantly being shoved under the carpet and the lack of integrity is there. You know, it's a mismatch. And that's when those, you know, those tower moments happen. You know, they've got to occur for mastery to come into fruition. And so know that there's always miracles within it all. Always miracles. There's always miracles within it all. And be okay with yourself. You're not going to master the depth that forgiveness is, especially with the conditions that we've come from. I mean, we've lived in such a conditional experience. And that's the beauty of it. We get to resolve and rewrite everything. It's so exciting. We're so excited. That's where all that light comes from. I'm so excited. We get to say, okay, well, here's the basket of the conditions and the patterns and the limitations and the control and the traditions and the dogma and everything that we've worked through. Just put it on the table. Well, this is what I really want to be right now. This is my vibration of devotion to me and to source and to spirit. And in this beingness of it, everything will sort itself out. And I can create my own role. I can create titles that work for me. I can create a job vocation that works for me that's not even out there yet. I can create this and I can create that, because you know what? That's old world that doesn't fit with me anymore. I've lived it. I've experienced it. I've learned all my lessons from it. And I've moved through the minutia of it by calling in greater light, by reestablishing my sense of self with source, by reestablishing who I choose to be vibrationally, who I choose to express and explore and experience myself as with source. That's my sovereign free will. And I absolutely will back myself up in every way for it, right? I will absolutely back myself up, and whatever it is that I need to stand for, I will stand for. This is the lifetime where I do this, because I get to define and resolve and rewrite divine feminine and what that means for me in every way. As a sacred being, as a sacred partner, as a sacred mother, as a sacred caregiver, as a sacred co-creator with Gaia, as a sacred ambassador, as a sacred teacher and a singer and a sacred author. Whatever it is that I want to be in any one moment, and start creating new rules and definitions, because I can't. I'm infinite. I don't need anybody to tell me anything about who I am. It's okay that they try, but it doesn't have to mean anything to me, because I get to choose that with source. That's my sense of self with source. And I get to take myself out of those experiences where I felt I had to be defined by others. You know? And that's what Ascension is all about. Who am I with source? Why am I here? What's my story as a soul with source? I get to choose. And again, we get to show our children by the best illumination that we carry, right? So exciting, so exciting, so exciting. And so just understand that forgiveness, allowing your daily clearing and your weekly clearing to call whatever vibration it is, you absolutely know, you can feel into it and sense into it. What vibration am I going to want to clear this week? You know, and just call it forward. Just sit with the vibration. Release the story, release the people, so that you're not entangling in those cycles of vibration again. Take the story, take the people out of it, and just focus on the vibration. You know, self-love, if you want to focus on self-love. And then as you focus on self-love, there'll always be that undercurrent of anything that needs to be cleared through that honoring of self-love. So just know that. Sometimes if you want to forgive something, if you just focus on self-love and just feel self-love, anything that needs to be cleared will be brought up. And then you get to forgive it as it's being released, because you'll feel it. The more you tune into this process of healing yourself, you'll be able to feel what it's connected with. And then again, because everybody's working through so much, just know that there will be an infinite number of things in the divine relationship of who you are as the grand soul of your becoming, because you're becoming more of your soul, you're renewing yourself a soul. You can always allow yourself the availability to tap in whatever healing resources and experiences and modalities that is right for you. So remember that in self-healing, that self-healing means that I'll be okay and allow yourself to explore all aspects of healing. You know, whether it's Eastern, Western, traditional, you know, counseling, water therapy, herbal. It doesn't matter what we define and how we package it. So be okay. There's so much in our worldly collective right now of healing. And there's more and more as we're breaking out into these new arenas of study where we're creating the new names for these new healing modalities. So just know that there's an infinite number of things that you can tap into for your healing template, your soul's growth. So really have fun exploring, you know, and don't let go of the ideas and the confinements of what's okay, what's not okay, and all that kind of stuff. Like, be okay with what source and you, again, your source guidance is your compass, and release what everybody else is saying and what everybody else is doing, because it's your state of being that matters. How do you want to direct your state of being? And you will always be guided. My teams give me everything that they, whether it's an herb, whether it's a seed, they're always constantly telling me what will help, whether it's a spray, they know that I get these sprays. These are Calgary made. These sprays, and they're at the organic health section in the grocery store. If you're going through a release period, and they have anxiety sprays and things like that, and they absolutely work. For me, I'm saying for me, because and the kids are very connected with their essential oils too, with their smells, and that helps them, clear out, any toxins and things like that. So just be okay with that really expansive, where we're really into this beautiful, this free array, this open array of our potentialities for who we're becoming. So be okay with the infinite experiences that we can allow ourselves to move through, and allow yourself to create your own healing template for what works for you, and try different things out, and tell your teams that, this week I want to try this in my own healing. Help me feel my way through this, because I'm excited to try this, because this came up to me in a dream. Because your teams will constantly give you what will work for you if you're setting out the devotion to move through daily self-care and your weekly soul growth templates. Your teams will be right there with you. They're guiding you in this. And they'll give you ideas, books, places to go. And then you'll find yourself just being led with spirit as spirit from your higher guidance. And that's when you rely less and less on the 3D world and the paradigms and the news and everything that we're being fed, because you're living from this higher guidance space. That's your sense of self. This is who I am as a soul, and I will be led, and I will be guided, and I absolutely trust it. And again, that's you creating who you are with source. Why are you here, and who are you, and what vibration do you want to tap into and explore and co-create with source? So we hope that that's helped, as far as, allowing yourself to feel into forgiveness, and knowing that there's the gradation of forgiveness, again, comes with many layers and levels, and be lighthearted about it. Break into the light in little tiny steps at a time. Allow yourself to be okay setting new standards and letting go of things that do not to serve you as an expansive soul. Because the more that you choose to expand in energy and light oscillation, anything that confines you and restricts you and controls or limits will be that push and pull energy that you'll want to break free from. So when you feel that push and pull, you absolutely know it needs to be sorted out. That's just the energetic experience that's telling you, okay, sort it out, so I can physically, mentally, emotionally, etherically move on. So those push and pull energies are experiences of that needing to be fully resolved, so that you can let go of that cycle, because that push and pull is a cycle, and it's calling for your resolve. And it can be done with anything. It depends on what you're working on, what you're releasing, what you're tapping into too. So just know that there's an infinite number of gradations. You can infuse light into anything. Remember, we're bringing the heavens onto earth. So whatever it is that your higher guidance is asking you to feed light into, self-love, sense of self, who are you with source? What would you like to devote yourself to as a soul, and the growth of who you are as soul, how you're growing spiritually? Understanding that as a spirit, you're more spirit than you are matter, which means that you have an infinite number of resources and tools and energies that you can pull on. The universe supports you in every way. So as you're living from this space of here, the universe will fully support you in equal measure. Again, we're moving into 5D as equal measure. 5D is all for one for all. Greater good, highest outcome for all. Everybody wins, win-win. So those are the energies we're moving to. So if you have that intention, I want this to be a win-win, I want this to be greater good of all, you will always find yourself feeding into those experiences through which your multidimensional bodies and systems will keep feeding you and showing you and nourishing you. And that's being consciously aware and being mindful and being allowing of your growth as a soul. So just know that. And that's all a part of the healing process, And compassion, there's always those experiences of compassion. You can have compassion while absolutely setting boundaries. Because often, again, many times I've always had this conversation with my teams. Well, aren't I being an unconditional loving vessel if I'm this? Well, yes, absolutely. We're not saying stop doing that. We're saying you need to put boundaries on it now because you cannot continue giving the way you're giving and leading a balanced life because people are taking advantage of you, and you know it. Now you need to step in your power, and now they need to know it. They need to know that you know. And when you know that they know, that you know, that they know, then it becomes something that, okay, well, they know now. So now I'm going to have to change, aren't I? So the knowing actually creates greater knowing. because I know that you know that we all know. And when we all know, we become a collective conscious knowing, which is where we want to really want to go, right? Too funny. Okay, so open up your heart chakras, open it all up, and let's call in the angels and the fairies. And we are going to do a beautiful activation. Thank you, Holy Gaia. Thank you, Mula. Calling in the guides and the ascended masters, thank you. And all of the beings that I work with for sacred sound, and the elementals and the fairies and the pixies and the ascended masters. Thank you. Arcturians and Syrians. Oh, Andromedans, thank you. Councils of light. Thank you, councils of light. Thank you, the Holy Christ. Thank you, the Holy Christ. Thank you, the Holy Christ. The divine frequencies of the Holy Mother and the Holy Father. Thank you, Holy Mother and Holy Father. Fui ananakai ke siao mai ke anaya ke ke asi kai mai ia. Fui anai ke anaya. Hi, Shia Shia. Tessie Siana. Hi. Thank you, Holy Mother and Father. Thank you, Holy Mother, Father. Thank you, Holy Mother, Father. Thank you, the Holy Christ. Thank you, the councils of light. Thank you, all the spirits and beings that are always with me, allowing me to explore and experience and express myself as the highest and the best version of me in all moments. Thank you, Holy Masters. Thank you, the Ascended Masters that are always with you, with me. And thank you, Lord Buddha. Thank you, Ascended Master Mary. Thank you, Master Mary. Thank you, Mother Mary. Thank you, Mother Mary, and all the sisters, all of the beloved beings that I come with and are around me and encircling me at all times. Thank you. So a really beautiful, soft story that they were showing me in that is that there's an infinite number of beings in consciousness that speak stories as I'm moving. And there's things that are happening in my third eye that are going on right now. So if you see my eyes sometimes look as if I'm moving in another dimension, it's because I am. So I'm trying to say what I'm trying to say, but also watch what's going on. They were showing me a really beautiful story about just being soft and gentle with ourselves. Like the whole masters and the whole heavens are just singing through me and speaking through me. And the stories that they were speaking will be unique to each and every one of you because that's the codes and that's light language. And so what they were just saying is that just know that each and every one of you are one. Whatever it is that any one soul is required to learn and to honor and to awaken to, there will be those naturally called in through the vibrations that we hold, and whatever is activated in our field and chakras to be brought in to be learned and faced. That's how we create soul growth. That's our oneness with Source. So this is our oneness. It's all required. We must allow one another to call one another in, to be our students, to be our teachers, so that each and every one of us can create that minutia of oneness and compassion and loving and forgiveness. Because we need one another to go to that depth of richness. So release the guilt, release the shame, release it all and just forgive. Release it all, forgive. Whether you're forgiving it for yourself or for others, whatever it is, just release it all and forgive. You will be that teacher from whatever it is that you are the student to right now. And the student is those dark nights of the soul. You know, that's how you become that master, that you're going to show others how to become that as well. We are one in this sacred dance. So be light, right? Lighten up. Lighten up. Be okay. You're all one. You're all threads of, you know, that pearl necklace, that's threaded pearl necklace that's feeding back and forth what we need to each see, what we need to each heal, what we need to step up into. So release the ideas of that blame and shame and guilt, because those come from those conditioned realities of who's right, who's wrong, winning, losing. And we hold ourselves to it because at some point it allows us to feel some sort of vindication, but that just continues those cycles. There's no need for vindication. Just forgive it all, right? It will all be within the minutia. There's no stopping and starting. You know, that's the minutia of growth. Right? So that was wonderful. And they were just showing it at such this beautiful, like how I was seeing is that just this beautiful fluid movement of this infinity. And it was just so soft and gentle and light from how they see it. You know, when we're in the thick of it, it's just like, oh, are you kidding me? And you're on the floor bawling for 2 days. You know, and they're in the heavens, you know, saying we're all one with you. We're all so proud of you because you're our children. You're like children in the playground when you know your brother or your sister fall down and you help them get back up. That's what we're doing. We're reaching out. Who wants to be a part of this? Reach out and help one another. You're each teachers, you're the students, you're each helping one another on this pearl of the infinite necklace, and the pearl that is the infinite threading in that song harmonic, that note that is source, and it's a constant threading of love and compassion. We each have to have great love and compassion for one another when we're teaching ourselves the most challenging lessons. In spirit, we have unconditional love for one another. And we're each saying that this lesson that's coming up for you is not going to be an easy one. It's not going to feel comfortable. But know that there is unconditional love. Otherwise, we wouldn't have threaded together to teach one another these lessons. Your soul needs it at this point. You really need this lesson. And I'm going to be the one that's going to help you move through it. Because remember that you were my teacher last year, right? It's always that beautiful experience. So no, that's where our oneness comes in. That is the elegance and the diversity of our oneness. We need each other. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we expand. So amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So excited. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful experience and expression of forgiveness. And we thank you so much and we love you so much. Bye.